Manchester United is more than just a football club. It's a story of triumph, tragedy, and resilience. A story that transcends the game itself. Today, we pay tribute to one of the most iconic chapters in its history, the story of the Busby Babes, a group of young, fearless footballers who captured the hearts of a nation, only to have their journey cut short by an unimaginable tragedy. This is their story, a story of hope, heartbreak, and the unbreakable spirit of Manchester United. In the aftermath of World War II, English football was in a state of transition. Clubs were rebuilding and the game was evolving. It was during this time that a young Scottish manager named Matt Busby arrived at Manchester United in 1945. Busby had a vision to build a team not just for the present, but for the future. He believed in nurturing young talent, in creating a family within the club, and in playing a brand of football that was both beautiful and effective. Busby's approach was revolutionary. He focused on developing players through the club's youth system, rather than relying solely on expensive transfers. This philosophy would soon bear fruit, as a group of exceptionally talented youngsters began to emerge from the ranks. By the early 1950s, Manchester United's youth academy had become a production line of talent. Players like Duncan Edwards, Bobby Charlton, Eddie Coleman and Mark Jones were making waves in the reserves. Their skill, energy and fearlessness earned them the nickname the Busby Babes, a term of endearment that reflected their youth and their close bond with their manager. The Babes were not just young, they were exceptional. Duncan Edwards, for example, made his first team debut at just 16 years old and quickly established himself as one of the most complete players England had ever seen. His strength, skill and maturity belied his age, and he became the heartbeat of the team. The Busby Babes quickly made their mark on English football. In the 1955-56 season, they won the First Division title with an average age of just 22, a record that still stands today. Their football was a joy to watch, fast, attacking, and full of flair. Players like Tommy Taylor, a prolific striker, and Roger Byrne, the captain and left-back, became household names. The following season, they retained the title, further cementing their place as one of the greatest teams in English football history. But Busby had even bigger ambitions. He wanted to conquer Europe. In the 1957-58 season, Manchester United became the first English team to compete in the European Cup. They dazzled on the continental stage, reaching the semi-finals with a team that embodied Busby's attacking philosophy. Their journey took them to Belgrade, where they faced Red Star in the quarter-finals. After a thrilling 3-3 draw in the second leg, United advanced 5-4 on aggregate. The future looked bright. But tragedy struck on February 6, 1958. Returning from Belgrade, the plane carrying the Busby Babes stopped in Munich to refuel. Conditions were poor, snow and slush covered the runway. After 2 aborted takeoff attempts, the plane crashed on its 3rd attempt. Of the 44 people on board, 23 lost their lives, including 8 players: Jeff Bent, Roger Byrne, Eddie Coleman, Duncan Edwards, Mark Jones, David Pegg, Tommy Taylor and Liam Whelan. The news sent shockwaves around the world. Duncan Edwards, just 21 years old, fought for his life in a Munich hospital for 15 days before succumbing to his injuries. His death was a devastating blow to the club and to football as a whole. Edwards was not just a player, he was a phenomenon. Many who saw him play believed he was destined to become one of the greatest players of all time. The aftermath of the disaster was a time of unimaginable grief. The city of Manchester came to a standstill as thousands of fans gathered at Old Trafford to pay their respects. The football world united in mourning, with tributes pouring in from across the globe. For Manchester United, the challenge was not just emotional, but practical. The club had lost the core of its team, so Matt Busby, severely injured in the crash, was fighting for his life. The future of the club hung in the balance. In the absence of Sir Matt Busby, assistant manager Jimmy Murphy took charge. A passionate and determined figure, Murphy became the driving force behind the club's recovery. He rallied the surviving players, brought in reinforcements, and ensured that the spirit of the Busby Babes lived on. Despite the odds, United continued to compete. They reached the FA Cup final that season, losing to Bolton Wanderers, but their mere presence on the pitch was a testament to their resilience. In the years that followed, Sir Matt Busby returned to rebuild the team. He combined the surviving players, like Bobby Charlton and Bill Foulkes, with new signings and youth products. The process was slow and painful, but the club never lost sight of its identity. By the mid-1960s, United were once again a force to be reckoned with. The emergence of players like George Best and Dennis Law, alongside Charlton, formed the nucleus of a new generation of talent. 10 years after the Munich disaster, Manchester United achieved the unthinkable. On May 29, 1968, at Wembley Stadium, they defeated Benfica 4-1 to win the European Cup. Sir Matt Busby and Bobby Charlton, a survivor of the crash, lifted the trophy together. It was a moment of catharsis, a tribute to the Busby Babes and a fulfillment of their dream. As Busby later said, "This is the most wonderful thing that has happened in my life. I am happy for Matt Busby, but I am even happier for Manchester United and the boys who died." The legacy of the Busby Babes is etched into the fabric of Manchester United. At Old Trafford, the Munich Memorial Clock stands as a timeless reminder of their sacrifice. Every year, on the anniversary of the disaster, fans from around the world gather to honour their memory. Their story is not just one of tragedy, but of inspiration. It is a story of how a club and a community came together in the face of unimaginable loss. The spirit of the Busby Babes lives on in every Manchester United team that takes the field. Their legacy is a reminder of the values that define the club: courage, unity, and an unwavering belief in the power of youth. As Sir Matt Busby once said, "Manchester United is not just a football club, it is an institution. And at the heart of that institution are the Busby Babes, forever young, forever remembered."